It's time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 28. And we are actually filming this live Sunday, June 5th, 2011. My name, as always, Rob Woodbridge. Hasn't changed since the last one, although I'm thinking of it. It's a long name. You can find me at untether.tv or at Rob Woodbridge on the Twitter thing. And with me, as always,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
And you can find Asif and a very valuable location-based marketing association at thelbma.com or at thelbma or at Asif R. Khan on Twitter as well. Asif, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's yet another busy week in location-based marketing. So,
well, I'm glad. I mean, you probably all rested from not traveling around the world, jet setting around the globe in the last couple of days. I know we got an announcement at the end of the episode to talk about what's coming up this week. But feeling kind of relaxed now, aren't you? Settling in at home.
I'm feeling good. I've been home for an entire week and get caught up on everything, and feeling good, rested, ready to go.
Well, let's dive right into this because it was a busy week, and the first story here is something that's near and dear to my heart. I forced my kids the other night to watch Apollo 13, and 7-Eleven is sending you to space, baby.
Great movie, and yeah, they're sending you to space. I mean, like, who doesn't want to go to space? I don't know, but yeah. So the situation is Foursquare and 7-Eleven partnered up around a promotion around a new movie that's coming out shortly, called Super 8. It is yet the next extraterrestrial sci-fi super movie from the mind of Steven Spielberg, and in the vein of E.T., I guess. I don't know, but 7-Eleven's promoting this thing along with their Big Gulp, so they got the Big Gulp Super 8 special going on, and basically you go and you check in at a 7-Eleven, and they tying in with the whole kind of Super 8 name of the movie. It's the every 88th, I think it's every 88th check-in gets a movie ticket, and the 88,888th check-in qualifies for a ticket into space or near orbital space.
There's like and I think that there's that the 88 5/8. Why don't we call it
5/8? Yeah.
That gives you the right to go and do a simulated parabolic arc, which is in those big jumbo 747s that actually you experience weightlessness for 40 seconds at a time or whatever it is. And then they're talking about.
And I believe they're giving away 10 of these. It's not just one.
Yeah, and that's worth $5,000, which is pretty cool. And then
it's pretty sweet. And you know what? What I really love about it is I preach over and over again. People. Every time I'm speaking at a conference, people say, yeah, but, who's using location, who's checking in, who's doing this, and I always say, it's about value and relevance. And at the end of the day, everybody has a price. And for somebody out there, this is going to be a motivator. I'll tell you right now, there are people who are going to sit and watch and go to 7-Eleven and check in just for a chance to go to space.
Well, because there is the grand prize, which is worth about $100,000, which is quite literally, the Richard Branson type of deal, which is you're going to get up into suborbit and see the curvature of the Earth from space, and that's worth $100,000, and that's a great giveaway. I can't imagine. It almost makes me want to go and hang out at, as you said, 7-Eleven and just check in.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that 7-Eleven is going to have a counter on their website, and so you can actually see how many check-ins there are, and so you can sort of time it so that if you're close to that 7-Eleven, and you can go to the website and see that they're at 800, and 88,763, you might want to go camp out for the next hour and try and be that one that hits it. I don't know, but. Anyways, it's pretty cool.
What they were saying is that it's limited. I think it ends in July, or when they reach 888,888 check-ins, right?
Yes.
And they're at 4,400. So there's a long way to go. Maybe I wonder if they've underestimated the number of check-ins. Because that's a big number, 888,000 for people to check in on a national chain. Maybe
I believe the promotion runs the entire month of June.
Okay.
The Super 8 movie comes out June the 10th, so in another 5 days from now.
Yep.
But the promotion is month long, and there's a bunch of other things that they've tied into it. So, like, you can get 88-cent brownies and all this other stuff, with the 8 in it and things like that. So, anyways,
so I think this is a really good example of a pretty unique way to leverage Foursquare and location-based check-in services.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's not every day that you get a big brand like 7-Eleven, a big brand, smaller brand in Foursquare, but big in their space, and then a massive brand like I think it's Paramount or Spielberg with a major motion picture tie-in. I think this is great. I think
it's awesome, and the other thing about it too is that if you're interested in this, if this is enough value and relevance for you and it motivates you, apparently you can check in every 3 hours. So they are tracking the check-ins. You can't sit there and check in every minute, but every 3 hours you can check in again.
I love that. So, well, perhaps I won't. I won't do that, but definitely this is. I can't afford the money to go to space, so this is the second best thing. I'm just going to hang out at 7-Eleven like I did when I was in grade school.
And just think how many big gulps you can have while you're waiting.
It's so great. It's like brain freeze. I'm going to space. Brain freeze.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Foursquare teaming up with 7-Eleven, Super 8.
If you have enough big gulps, you might experience zero gravity while you're on the ground.
I'm pretty sure of it. Exactly.
I think it can happen.
It's an sort of out of body experience, right?
Yeah.
And 99-cent brownies. That's another one. Brownies and big gulps. All right, so from great marketing, I think a great use of Foursquare and a great use of a check-in and a great prize in Foursquare, 7-Eleven, and space. I love space. Our second story is about Quipster. Quipster, a new company that just launched. Neat concept, terrible launch. Terrible launch.
Terrible execution. I mean, I think in terms of, great offering from what I can tell in terms of the positioning of what they've got out there. So this is an iOS app, an Apple app. Basically, they're trying to change the way you check in and let you do it via icons and swipes and graphics and things like that. So trying to make it simple, trying to simplify that process, which is great. They have a concept of sharing experiences and comments using these icons at those places you are. And when you do that, it's called a quip. That shared experience is called a quip. And then users can post these quips on Facebook and Twitter. And the interesting thing about it is the more you quip, and the more that quip, that comment, or whatever it is that's is read or liked or commented on, you increases your ranking in the system, and so that can convert into better deals or offers or whatever. So basically, you're getting rewarded in the system for people commenting or reacting to what you're saying, what you're quipping.
What you're quipping. It's an old school term.
But to your point, terrible launch. In fact, if you go to the press release, it doesn't even say, link to their website. And, when you Google Quipster.com, it actually takes you to a link harvesting website.
That's how they're making money.
Yeah. So the actual website for those looking for this product is Quipster.co.
Quipster.co.
Quipster.co, okay, not com. Anyways, don't go get your link harvested. There you go.
And this is one of those, there's a back and forth on this. So I reached out to Quipster because I thought this was an interesting thing midweek, because I saw a TechCrunch quite literally just roast it, because in the vein of that's all we need is another check-in technology.
Yeah,
we've got enough of that. And then to Quipster's defense, Read Write Web came back and said, you know what? Maybe TechCrunch was a little bit too early on their assumption here, because there are some unique things around this, as you described.
Yeah, no, there are a few little interesting differences here, right?
Well, it's really about curating the best locations in a city, and then getting a panning view of the city. But it's not without fault, as Read Write Web says very clearly, is that aside from the terrible launch, there's some great unique aspects to the product that are worthwhile, and it's what you've described. But But the big challenge that they have is that they're starting from basically no locations, right? So there's no content in here, and that's always the biggest struggle that a lot of companies have, is that if you got a company like Foursquare or Facebook or Yelp, and they already have that stuff, it's really easy to just add a new layer, in the vein of what Quipster's doing, and really, just add the layer and you already have the content, as opposed to have the product with no content.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And I think one of the things too, they talk about, you can build communities in this, and it kind of almost harkens back to, what Whirl originally did, right? In terms of building their societies and whatnot. So anyways, a few interesting things there. We'll see where it goes. And hopefully they can fix their PR issues and, get out there and make it happen.
Hey, well, if anybody from Quipster is listening or watching this, I am absolutely 100% willing to get you onto untether.tv. I went to your website and tried and filled out all the forms, but there's no contact information other than a form, and the form doesn't work. I tried to get you on. So if you're listening to this or watching this, untether@gmail.com. I'll get you on the show. Let's have a conversation about this week. Quipster.co launches. You can do a lot of research from TechCrunch and Read Write Web, but it's worthwhile. I mean, these are experiments, and
take a look at it.
Go and take a look at it.
Yeah, so, I downloaded it. So
you did, eh? And was there anything in Toronto?
In the iTunes store. So
was there anything in Toronto that you could? Was anybody using it?
I didn't see. No.
That's a big challenge with all of these guys. So go and see if it works. Quipster.co. You could own the city. Asif Khan, Mayor of Toronto. Quipster, Chief Quip. You're like hipster Quipster of Toronto.
Hey, there is hipster too. We'll talk about that another time.
Hipster Quipster, boy.
Yeah.
Talking about old school hipster Quipster, McDonald's, Mickey D, Ronald McDonald, that silly clown, doing some pretty impressive things when it comes to location-based services. Not in North America, of all places, but everywhere else, in Ireland and Sweden. Good on McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's. Doing some big things. Big things. So one of the stories this week out of McDonald's is they're claiming to have the first Irish ad that uses location-based technology in a mobile app. And so what's going on here is they've partnered up with a mobile app from RTE News Now is the name of the app, RTE News Now. And so this is your typical news app, feeding you, politics and local news and sports and entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. But in the app, if you're reading the news in this app, there's mobile ads that are being served into that, coming out of the AdForce network, I believe, in this particular case. And McDonald's basically is one of those ads that you see in there, and they're actually delivering location-based recommendations inside of that app in terms of driving traffic to local restaurants from that app. So an interesting play in terms of pushing that into a kind of traditional mobile app, in-app, ad. So that's kind of cool. Nothing really amazing about it, but cool.
But they felt that
taking a traditional ad unit.
Well, they felt that it was necessary. Well, they felt that it was necessary to. We talked about this just before we went live. Is that it's only available on between specific hours, and no Sunday, Monday. So they're not. They've decided that. Tuesday it's 7 to 12, and then Wednesday to Saturday it's 7 p.m. to 12 p.m., and then Wednesday to Saturday it's 11 a.m. to 12 till midnight.
Yeah, and maybe part of that is so from the way I read this is the ad only appears in the sports section of the news app. So perhaps they're thinking, okay, well, most of the games are only happening, I don't know, Tuesday to whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm only going to get my scores those days. I don't know what it is, but that was kind of the odd piece. But anyways, so it's there. It runs until June the 11th, I believe, and we'll see if they publish any results from that. But an interesting kind of repositioning of a traditional mobile ad unit.
We were talking about this again right before we went live, and I think that this is an interesting piece, is that when you add proximity into this, when you add a layer of awareness like location into an ad like this for a fast food restaurant during specific hours, you talk about frequency and reach. I think it would be very interesting, if not only you could schedule the time that you wanted the ad to be displayed, but you could also accelerate the number of ads displayed say it's in a rotation by proximity. So if you are within a mile of McDonald's and you check this, that's the only ad that you see.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. So, and especially if, you bring a geofencing into that, right? So, I mean, to our next story, maybe this is a good segue into...
I want to finish off the McDonald's one because we come back to the geofencing and because the second story in the McDonald's piece was what they did in Sweden.
Yes.
Which is a different way of attracting attention. But this was they put up a huge billboard, an interactive billboard that allowed you to interact with it through your mobile device, which is pretty unique. I don't know that I've seen a lot of these out there.
No, and again, that goes back to what I keep harping on is this need for integrating media together, right? And taking a traditional billboard in this case, an interactive one at that digital billboard, and allowing the consumer to basically take control of it and play a game in this case, 30-second game of
Pong.
Pong, like Pong. We all remember Pong.
Pong's cool.
Pong is cool again, and so basically, through your mobile device on the big screen, you can control and play a game of Pong. Takes 30 seconds to play, and you can win coupons for free food at your nearest McDonald's. You don't have to. And the nice thing about it is there's no app to download. There's nothing like that. So it kind of gets rid of that barrier to entry. And it just, as you come in proximity to the billboard, it picks up your phone, knows you're there, and then you can just join in the game via a web address.
Yeah.
So
that, and then when you start to think, now let's talk about that. We'll bring this all back into it. So this is on Sweden. I'll include a link to this great video where they were showing people out there playing it. But first of all, when it comes to fast food, this is a really interesting play, and proximity has a big deal. Is a big deal in fast food because usually you're looking up. And it's whatever's around you. I'm starving. I got to eat. I don't. Maybe there are people who actually make it a destination of the McDonald's, and I'm sure there are. But the real thing is that you want to be able to attract those people that are close by. So proximity in the ads, proximity on the billboard, drawing people into the stores, I think is one of the biggest challenges. Yeah. Right? It's not about checking in. It's about being attracted and then being brought in, and that has a lot to do.
Yeah, it's about that footfall. It's about driving traffic. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, if it is, and if it's not doing that, you're not doing your job, right? So, and that's a perfect segue into our fourth story, which is T3 and what they're calling T3 and their perimeters product.
Perimeters, yeah. So T3 is this new offshoot. It's based in Austin. So they've launched this new innovation lab basically there in Austin, and the goal is to kind of bring new products to market that are kind of first of, never been done before kind of things. And so the first thing that they've launched is this thing called Perimeters. And so Perimeters is a geofencing platform. We've talked a lot about the concept of geofencing and kind of drawing virtual boundaries around specific areas or neighborhoods or whatever. And then as people walk inside of those boundaries, they're pushed deals or offers or whatever, once they're inside of that virtual fence. And so that's what geofencing is. What's different about this is they're claiming, and I think we sort of have to dig into this a little bit. So Perimeters is a tool for developers. So let's start with that. This is not a consumer offering. Right. Second is they're claiming that you can do this geofencing with no carrier relationship at all. So most of the geofencing we've seen so far, like Placecast or what have you, they have relationships with AT&T in the US or O2 in the UK or whoever, and the consumers subscribe to receive those offers through those carriers. That's typically how the geofencing up until now has worked. So what these guys are claiming is that if you have an app, you could be any retailer, you could be Macy's, for example, you already have your own branded app that you've had for a year or two. Effectively what they're claiming is with a few clicks of a mouse through their platform, you can add geofencing, you can add location to that existing app. And so basically you just go in, you define your geofence, So you specify the boundary. You then basically choose your OS that your app supports, if it's iPhone or Android or what have you, and then decide what content you want to push to the user once they walk inside that geofence, whether that's a coupon, an offer, a video, what have you. Basically, from that point on, it's all good to go. And so now you've added geofencing to your existing app. So that's effectively what T3 is saying that they do, what perimeters is.
It's interesting because with this, what struck me about this story was that there was no hardware component. There's no carrier relationship that's required. It's kind of just out there. You basically put a longitude and a latitude into this thing. You draw your perimeter, and anybody who walks in that perimeter, you now can interact with. The one thing, though, that I'm not clear about, and as you said, we have to do some research on this, is that I'm going to assume that the Macy's app has to be running in the background somewhere in order to be able to push me any kind of notification like that based on my location. I had to have said expressly, send me these notifications. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And so maybe there's, that's where, as I read this story, I was thinking, okay, there's an interesting combination between these guys and maybe somebody like Xtify. Yeah. That has that ability to talk to, inside of the app, whether it's running or not in some cases. So that might be an interesting thing to look at. But anyhow.
Yeah, no hardware.
I don't know. We have to do some more research on that. I'm not sure how they pull that off, if they do.
The one thing that I worry about here is something that maybe is a new term, but it's like when you talk about perimeter pollution. How's that? It's a new coining of this phrase, is perimeter pollution when it comes to kind of geofencing stuff. I can't imagine how many times I'm going to walk into one kind of area where it's going to be like 40 different perimeters on top of perimeters on top of perimeters. And then there's going to be a company that aggregates all of that data and gives you a better, holistic view. So there's opportunities inside of this, but I don't know, perimeter pollution. We're going to be diving into that pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's an issue that needs to get looked at, and in some respects too. It's kind of like, if you go back, in a few years, when we were all talking about Wi-Fi and cell signals, and you got all these signals overlapping all over the place, and in some cases, conflicting with each other. Yep. And while these geofences are virtual, the reality is that, as an app or as a consumer, I'm going to be walking into multiple fencing areas that overlap each other. So yeah, I don't know. I think that has a potential for a problem.
Well, yeah, I would 100% say yes. But I guess that's if you have all these apps, and not everybody's going to have the 30 apps running in the background. But right. I think it's going to be a battle between Twitter, Facebook. What do they call the four horsemen? Twitter, Facebook, Apple, and Google. Those are the four horsemen, without Microsoft or him. T3, their new product, perimeters, geofencing, no hardware, API, basically copy paste, put it into your app, and you've got a geofencing capabilities in your application. Interesting. Yep. We'll do a little bit more research on those guys. See if I can get those on the show as well. Our last big story of the day, of the week, was Yahoo Loco, Japan.
Yahoo Loco, not
Loco. No, Loco.
At first I thought this was like Japan had kind of mixed with Mexico or something. But anyways, it's Yahoo Loco. So this is, as I read it here, apparently Yahoo in Japan is the biggest website in Japan.
Yes, Yahoo Japan, I think, is the biggest.
I wasn't aware of that until I read this release. So they've announced this new thing, Yahoo Loco, and basically it's not a new site. It's a kind of a mashup of a whole bunch of existing Yahoo services in Japan. So Yahoo Maps, there's Yahoo Coupons there. There's something called Yahoo Gourmet, which is like their restaurant recommendation engine and things like that. So basically they put all this together and they now call it Yahoo Loco.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's crazy. But what's interesting about it is that the restaurants and the stores that are kind of part of the system can send information or discounts to the users who've kind of bookmarked stuff that they want to remember. So it has this kind of, place you want to remember feature, kind of a bookmarking feature. And then if you bookmark a place, then basically those places can kind of register on the system and then push you deals and offers related to that. So,
I mean, I like the idea, but again, this is one of those times where I'm so thankful that there's the LBMA. And I'm not blowing smoke up your butt here, because one of the things the biggest challenge in this industry right now is the pace with which people and companies are announcing this stuff. And it comes from the big and the small, and they all sound so similar, right? They're all like, we'll check in here and we'll do this, and there's always just a little bit of variation. Like, this is a new bookmark. I mean, and we're going to reward you by sending you coupons if you bookmark that restaurant, right? I mean, it's so unique, but they're just incremental movements, and that's why I look forward to doing this show. Is that I get a glimpse into this space a little bit deeper, and but there's so much going on, and it's all the same. It seems like.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing for Yahoo, though, and I completely agree with you. Like, there's a lot of Me Too, with very, very slight tweaks and variations, very, very slight.
Yep.
But I think Yahoo, the one interesting thing about Yahoo is, and again, I didn't realize they were the biggest site in Japan, so good on them. But what strikes me about Yahoo is when you contrast Yahoo with, say, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. Okay, let's for a moment just put them on the same line.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
They're the only one of the four that doesn't have a mobile play.
Yeah.
Right? Like Microsoft has their own mobile operating system, Apple does, and Google does, right? But Yahoo doesn't.
Yeah.
And they've made that conscious decision, at least up until now, that they're not going there. And so instead, they're trying to play this, deal aggregation, content play, and kind of focus on that. And we'll see, because in some respects, we talk a lot about the challenge of, getting people to download your app, the challenge of, building that reach and frequency to some extent, from that perspective. And yet sometimes you could argue the real power is in who's got the content, that's actually going to attract the consumer to act and do something.
Sure. And
you could argue that Yahoo has that.
Yeah, you can, but I mean, pretty soon Foursquare is going to have that, and pretty soon, somebody like, Yelp will have that, or Facebook will have that. I mean, I don't. I mean, they're at a disadvantage. Yahoo is at a big disadvantage when it comes to these things, because they don't have their operating system. They don't have their own search engine anymore. They're kind of I don't know, a ghost compared to what they were at one point, because you used to be able to put them up against Yahoo, next to Google, and ahead of Google for a while, and next to Microsoft. Don't forget that Microsoft made a $35 billion acquisition bid for Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like this is pretty significant what we're talking about here, and. It's good that they're the number one site in Japan, and I like this international flavor that they're going after. They might as well do it over there because everybody else is doing it over here, right? And that's a good angle as well. But they are at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yeah. Just like when you look at RIM, RIM's at a huge disadvantage compared to the other guys as well, because of the fact that Apple has their own ad network. Google's built on ads forever. Microsoft has their own ad network, and they also have their own search engines between Microsoft and Google, and RIM doesn't have any of that. They have an app store, right? Yeah. There's no ecosystem there.
You almost need RIM plus Yahoo.
You do, you really do.
That's the combination, maybe. I don't know. Hey.
Wait a second.
Hey.
You heard it here first. Forget Yahoo Loco. It's RIM has to get the RIM.
Anyway, so Yahoo Loco, Japan. If you're over there, check it out. Start bookmarking some stuff, and let's see. If you're in Japan, bookmark something. See what kind of deal you get. Let us know about it.
Absolutely.
We're interested.
That's it for the big news. Let's talk about some of the investments that have gone on. A couple of deals always that happen, that transpire. The biggest one, obviously, is this Groupon IPO that's coming down the pike.
Yeah, $750 million IPO. Obviously, they're trying to raise some cash to go do some things. But hey, I mean, you should have taken the $6 billion, people. You should have taken the $6 billion.
They're raising the $750 million, so they have operating capital for. They're like 10,000 salespeople out there peddling something that is no longer of any value.
Yeah, I don't get it. So, anyways, I pulled some data from the SEC filing. So here's what it says. The filing reveals that there's 83 million subscribers. So this is the latest data on Groupon. 83 million subscribers. They sold 30 million coupons in 2010. And they've already sold 28 million in the first quarter of 2011. So they've almost basically done the last year in the first quarter of this year. Revenue numbers are interesting. So projected, Q1 revenue for this quarter is 645 million. Versus 713 for all of last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so that those numbers jive.
Yeah.
But they're $413 million in the red.
They've lost $413 million.
They've lost $413 million
on so far in the quarter.
No, at this point.
Aggregate. Okay.
The aggregate, $413 million in the red because of marketing costs and probably that Super Bowl ad, and and whatever they had to pay for businesses that they've acquired and so on and so forth. Yeah. So they're upside down at the moment, but we'll see what happens. It sounds like they should be able to get clean with the kind of growth that they're having, but
I mean, I don't hide my my feeling about what Groupon is, and it's a flash in the pan, and within a couple of years we will have not remembered Groupon. We'll think back and think, wow, wasn't that oh yeah, those idiots that didn't sell.
Right.
$750 million is a good size IPO, I would say, but it isn't $6 billion in the pocket, right?
Right.
Like, with that, even with a $15 billion valuation, and I've had a lot of arguments over Twitter about this over the last couple of days, is that even with a $15 billion acquisition, it's like the Powerball lottery in the U.S. Do you take?
Well, hey, I mean, it's an IPO, right? So can't Google just go and basically buy up all the shares now for a tenth of what they offered?
Well, but that's it, and we'll see what happens eventually within a year. But you know how the Powerball works, right? So the Powerball works by like you have like $300 million lottery, and they give you two options. You can take $100 million today, or like $20 million every year for the rest of your life. And it's like, well, you know what? I'm probably going to take that $100 million right now. Right, and sacrifice the rest, and that's just me. But $6 billion, there's no way that those owners or those founders are going to ever extract that kind of cash from this business on an IPO, even at $15 billion valuation. And at some point, the company becomes too big to buy, right? So, and by the way, you're facing such stiff competition from some of the biggest companies and best funded companies and highest valuation companies on the planet. And I love the underdog. But I just don't get this business model. I can't imagine. So we're going to watch it rise. It's $2.4 billion. That's if you annualize their revenue, which is incredible. And if you annualize their losses, that's, what's that? $1.6 billion in losses with a $750 million IPO. The math just doesn't add up. And, a year from now we'll be fatigued, and 2 years from now they'll be out of business. So
yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think this is a short hurdle for them.
Oh yeah, somebody's got to buy them. Or they've got to buy Yahoo. One of the two.
One of the two.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so Groupon IPO, that's awesome. It's good for the market. This is going to be the penultimate IPO that's going to set off the bells for a lot of companies going forward. Everybody's going to want to be the next.
It's good to see there's IPOs happening. Yeah. Let's say that.
Yeah, I'm keen on this. And if I could find some founder shares, I'd do it in a second. Right? This is opportunistic. The next investment we talked about, that you brought up, was Tippr buying Dealpop. This is another one of those small deals, aggregation deals, consolidation.
Yeah. So we don't have any data on this. They didn't disclose anything, but yeah, Tippr basically been around for a while now. acquires Dealpop. Dealpop is a daily deal site that's basically owned by the White Pages actually group. So not much to say about it. The press release basically says that they've done this deal for talent acquisition. That's all it says. There's no numbers, but basically, they wanted an experienced sales force, is what it says, with national reach and a technical team with deep expertise in group buying infrastructure.
Because they're going to go compete against Groupon.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. All and right. Tippr, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, what they do is they do white-labeled daily deal services.
So perfect.
So it's powered by Tippr.
Again,
if you want to do your own daily deal site and compete with Groupon, talk to Tippr.
Talk to another third-party deal. It's going to take more hands in the pocket. This is a small cookie jar when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Groupon, Tippr. We're going to see a lot more of this. Maybe not so much on the Groupon side, but a lot more consolidation. And I think that Groupon's going to continue to go on a buying spree when it comes to these things. They're just going to. So, all right, Tippr acquiring Dealpop in a non-disclosed deal for talent.
The only problem with Groupon acquisitions is they haven't quite figured out when you buy a company, okay, there's usually like some duplication of staff and services. So there's a bit of layoffs. I don't think they do that. I think they just okay, we're at 10,000 employees. We just bought a 100-person company. Now we're at 10,000 and 100 employees. Yeah. They just keep growing. And I don't know how you sustain that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, there was a great interview with the CEO of Groupon that you should find on TechCrunch that just kind of gives a glimpse into his viewpoint, and it goes a little bit too deep for this right now. But the more I look at this, the more I think, boy, this is kind of like Elvis in his later years, right? It's going to be a sad ending here.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, all right. Let's move on to the.
We've already murdered, but in between now and 2 years, Groupon is going to make a lot of people a lot of money. So and not the merchants, the people who own the stock. So good. So let's move into the product. Let's move into the product of the week. Stickered.
Product of the week. Yeah, Stickered. So Stickered is interesting. How do I want to describe it? So basically, what Stickered is arguing, what they're trying to solve, everybody's trying to solve something.
Yes, they're all probably solve.
And so Stickered is trying to solve. What they're saying is you can fool Foursquare. You can check in, by driving by the place. You're not really there. You can fool it. And so they're saying, we can verify check-ins. We can prevent people from kind of gaming the system in terms of the check-in game. And so the way they do that, they say, is that users scan a QR code in a venue, in a place, and that QR code is geo-locked to the specific location. And then businesses basically can use this to create digital loyalty cards. So that's what Stickered is. Got it?
Yeah.
We're good?
Yep. So this is interesting. And I don't have much to say other than it's I like the idea of this. Like, I love loyalty. I love rewarding loyalty. And so, but again, like getting a location, getting an independent retailer or a coffee shop or even a chain to implement yet another loyalty program.
This is my issue with it, right? Like, is how do you get the reach?
You can't.
Right? So they need the 10,000 people Groupon has.
Exactly.
That's it.
So Groupon needs to buy Stickered.
Groupon needs to buy Stickered. Then they can verify.
We just solved the world's problem. I mean, Yahoo, RIM, Stickered, and Groupon. That's the big thing, is that reach is so important. Unless they want to stay local.
Yeah.
I was going to say stay local.
These guys are based in Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I just, I like the idea. And what I love about these guys is that they're probably going to make $1 million. Right? They're probably going to drive $1 million in revenue, and there's probably 3 guys in an office, and that's what I love about it. It's the entrepreneurial spirit. They see an opportunity, they run and grab it, and so good on them. I'll never criticize for that. But they're going to have to partner well. That's all. Mm-hmm. So, and I would, if I was those guys, if I was Stickered, I would be out there trying to pound the pavement for loyalty cards, bringing the loyalty card business into this world, right?
You know what?
That's
I think
a customer.
A lot of these companies the biggest hire that they need to make right now, if you're Stickered or you're any of these startups with a great little feature function idea on something a little bit different that should get some traction. The best hire that you can make right now is going and finding somebody who knows and can put together strategic alliances and partnerships with the big guys, with the Yahoos and the Microsofts and the Googles, and that has that Rolodex.
Yeah,
that's what you should be investing in.
The Starbucks.
Going and doing natural business development in terms of growing your business ain't gonna cut it, boys. It's not gonna happen.
There's just not enough time.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have enough time. It's like Tabbed Out. I mean, I love these guys, and what Rick Orr did is, instead of going after all the independent restaurants, he went after the point of sale system manufacturers and suppliers. And instead of going after whatever, there's like 20 million restaurants in the States, what he did was he went out, after 6 of the top 10 point of sale system manufacturers that are in 75% of the restaurants in the United States. And that's a really great strategic approach to doing business. And for Stickered, I'd be doing that. I'd be going after all the loyalty card developers and those guys who are doing it. And those are my customers, not the shops. Right? This is not a business. This is not a consumer play. This is a business to business player that you're gonna enable it. But if you're interested in it, it's stiqrd.com. Stickered. That's the product of the week. Go download it, take a look, and if you have any comments or criticisms,
it's very southern, isn't it?
It is.
Get stickered.
Get stickered. And then I'm going to do one. It's get liquored. Get liquored.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming to the end for those who have been enduring this whole thing. This is a really great resource. It's a really interesting resource. The difference between check-in usage in the U.S. versus the European Union. Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. So this is Edelman Digital put this thing out with ComScore data. Effectively, and so we reported on the ComScore, the U.S. data the other week, yep. And so basically, just to review that, those numbers were 16.7 million U.S. mobile subscribers check in with any regularity. That's 7% of the entire U.S. mobile audience, and the EU numbers aren't that different. So that basically says 11.6 million EU mobile subscribers, which represents 5% of the entire mobile population, and this is UK, France, Italy, Germany, and Spain. So, 7% in the US, 5% in the EU, 16.7 in the US million subscribers, 11.6 in the EU. So very, very similar numbers, and basically good to see that the growth is happening at relatively the same pace.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the full report on that will be up on the LBMA site under research. You can find it up there tomorrow. That's great.
I mean, no surprise there. I think maybe the only surprise for me was that that this isn't a North American centric phenomenon. This check-in technology, and that it's still, we're in the early adopters phase of this right now when it comes to check-in. Yep. But other than that, it's good to see that there's an equivalent going on over there. I'm pretty sure that the startup community is the same as it would be in North America. A lot of duplication, modifications to innovation, and some companies are making a great leap. And if anybody who's listening to this podcast or watching this podcast is in Europe, let us know what it's like over there. Are we seeing the same kind of Me Too, or is there a lot of innovation going over there that is really clearly ahead of what we're seeing here? And
right.
Reach out wherever you find this podcast. Reach out to Asif, reach out to me, reach out anywhere, post it on as a comment, Twitter post. I don't care. Just let's talk about this and let's see what how those two compare, because check-ins are one thing, innovation is another. What's going on over there? That's it. 77 hours later, this turned into the Groupon Love Fest, but we've killed episode number 28. Asif?
Absolutely, and just to finish things off, what I wanted to say is that the LBMA, we're busy as usual, and if you're in New York, in the New York area, New York City, this week, that's this Wednesday, June the 8th, I encourage you to connect with us at the LBMA. Send an email to contact@thelbma.com. And we have a private function happening Wednesday evening, 6:30 to 9, at JWT's headquarters in New York City. And love you to come out to basically just connect with the location-based community in New York. So let us know about that if you're interested.
Very cool. So contact@thelbma.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you need an invite code. That's why I'm telling you to send an email. So
that's right. That's right. So we'll be back here next week. That would, by my calculation, that would put us squarely on what is that? The 12th, June 12th for episode number 29. For those of you who are watching, listening, still doing that, 28 episodes in, we really appreciate it. We'd love some more feedback from you guys. untether@gmail.com. If we said something here that's controversial around Groupon, around anything that we've said, reach out. Let us know. I'd love to hear your opinion about these thoughts. We had some great discussion last week about some of the content that we pushed out, and some good compliments. So really appreciate that. It keeps us going on these dark nights or bright nights in the summer. It's hard to be inside.
It is.
On days like today. Asif, hit thelbma.com for more information about what they're up to, which is some great things. If you're interested in what I'm doing, it's at untether.tv. If you are a company that I should be profiling, or that should be a member of the LBMA, reach out. Let's talk about this. Let's get some profile for your company. But other than that, we'll see you guys next week for episode number 29.